going with Lamar?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Lamar, but I would not be shocked if this game's come down to the wire. I think that the Texans are strong on both sides of the ball, but like you mentioned, the logo it's been happening. And I'm hoping it keeps on going because the New Orleans, I saw on post on Twitter that the two teams would be the New Orleans Saints and the Baltimore Ravens. I would love that as a Saints fan. Well, it's going to happen. Probably not.
Got
But
to
in this
get rid
game,
of
I am
Derek
going to
Carr.
go with Baltimore. I think that the rest helps. So this was a team that was banged up. The way that Zay Flowers, like you mentioned, they're getting Mark Andrews back. I just think that this defense is going to have an answer for C.J. Stroud. And I think that Lamar is going to show him why he's going to be the MVP winner. So give me the Ravens at home.
I like it. Um, Lamar MVP. Someone came up to me the other day and asked, "What do you think about Lamar? You think MVP?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, he's playing great." But if you look at his numbers, I think Dak's got better numbers. Purdy's got better numbers. So Tyler, not saying that you think he's going to win the MVP, but what's that argument that you would make for him to win it?
Honestly, if I were saying who is going to do it, like I know that this is pretty much a quarterback award, but I would give it to Christian McCaffrey. I think that he's just been carrying that team. If you take him away from the 49ers, I don't think that they're good of a football team. I know that they got Debo. Brock Purdy, he's been solid. They got George Kittle, Debo on that team. But I don't know. Like you mentioned, like Lamar's numbers isn't the numbers like a couple of years ago when he won the MVP. It's just like a quarterback award. I think that Dak, I think that playing you got to play well in the playoffs to win the
Yeah, I
MVP.
mean Dak
The regular
shouldn't even be
season
considered.
should definitely mean something, but really falling apart. Throwing two interceptions that game. If you look at the stat line, it's like, oh, that's a good game, 400 yards, but it really wasn't for Dak. But so I think that if Lamar just keeps on playing well, he's probably going to win it. But should he win it? No, I think that the award should go to CMC.
So here's a number for you: Lamar Jackson, 3,678 passing yards. Which I guess this could be a little skewed because he didn't play this weekend. But you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 quarterbacks ahead of him in the passing yards campaign. One of those being Derek Carr. But I know you got to look at the rushing as well. But passing touchdowns, Lamar's got 24. Yeah, that's pretty low compared to everybody else. I mean, Russell Wilson's got more here. But then looking at the rushing side. Let me scroll a little bit to find Lamar Jackson. He's only got 800 rushing yards, which as a quarterback obviously leads the NFL. Um, with five, and then of course 5 rushing touchdowns. So when people, it's almost like the argument we were making and for the Heisman. Well, Jane Daniels has got this many passing yards, but he also has this many rushing yards. But he still led the passing yards category and led the rushing yards category. The Lamar thing, it's almost more. It's like the complete opposite. We were saying the Heisman Award is a individual player award, where the NFL MVP, I feels like a team award a little bit to me, especially with Lamar being such heavily favored, the Baltimore Ravens being the number 1 seed. It's just I don't know. It's a little skewed there. What do you think, Wade? Is Lamar your sure guy?
Well, I think he deserves to be the favorite, and the reason is the quarterback position has been really weird this year at the NFL. You've had a lot of injuries, so it is surprising he's not higher up on those lists. But we've seen a lot of the dominant quarterbacks go down with injuries for parts of the year, if not the whole year. So it just really feels like he's leading his team, to this number 1 seed. And I think Neil's right. I think that he's a game manager, and I agree with that, Frazier. And yeah, I mean, I think in the NFL, you're going to look at the top ranked teams and you're going to look at who their quarterback is. And, that might be your MVP front runners. It's no different than what we're seeing with Brock Purdy. But to Tyler's point, since neither one is just blowing it out of the water, I think it's a perfect year to have it go to the just most dominant player in Christian McCaffrey. I know the offense runs through him and other teams don't run the ball through the running back as much as the 49ers do. But at the same point, are we really going to give our MVP to a quarterback that doesn't throw for 4,000 yards
Yeah, they've got
in a
14
17-game
other
season?
quarterbacks in front of them. Like
Yeah.
that's Neil made a good point. He does have very good field position half the time. I get that.
He looks more
But
dominant than the stats show. I'll say that.
I think if there's going to be a year where a quarterback doesn't win it, it's got to be this year, and it deserves to be Christian McCaffrey.